Okay, start that over again. So welcome back everyone to GW Coders. Um, and this is our kickoff meeting, and then we will have our content meetings, again, as I mentioned, starting every other week, beginning in 2 weeks. So I think most everyone knows each other, but we should do a quick round of introductions. So I'm Ryan Watkins, and I'm in the Graduate School of Education and Human Development, and I work with the Trustworthy AI Initiative. And along with JP, we started GW Coders in like 2019, 2020, right at the time that we went into COVID lockdown. And now we are also co-sponsored with the OSPO office, which you'll hear more about in a little bit. So we'll go around the room. Annie, if you want to, you can just stay down there.
Hi, everyone. My name is Annie Melik-Setyan, and I am a fifth-year doctoral student at Graduate School of Education and Human Development. I'm interested in AI ethics, trustworthy AI, and human AI shooting.
Oh, my turn. Okay. Hi, good morning. My name is Ping Fan. I am a grade 3, I think I'm grade 3 PhD student, supervised by Professor John Paul Hobson. And my main focus is to do human behavior research on like travel behavior, electric vehicles, and smart charging stuff. And I also do software development. We have a survey platform called SurveyDown, and yeah, we are actively working on it. So yeah, I think that's all.
And we will get you to present again.
Yes.
Hi, I'm David Lippert. I'm the director of the GW Open Source Program Office. I'll be talking more, so I'll just pass it on to James.
Hey y'all, I'm James Suckenpaller. I teach at the Corcoran School of Arts and Design. I'm super interested in generative AI and other toys that I can make pictures with.
JP?
Sure. Can you all see me? I don't know if the video's up or not, but
Yep.
I'm mostly off because I'm just sitting here eating and you're just going to watch me shovel food in my mouth. So that's weird. But I'm JP. I am now an associate professor in EMSE. Yay. Ryan and I started this thing a while ago, but you know, it has its own life now, and that was the goal, was just to connect people over code, people who code from all across the school. Yeah, I do a lot of work in data analysis. I teach courses on data analysis, and a lot of stuff with data viz. I really spend a lot of time making pretty charts. Ping Fan is one of my students in the room. He mentioned the SurveyDown project. That's still ongoing. We're pretty excited to get to present that at PositConf in 3 weeks. And then he did not give himself enough credit. He was like, yeah, I'm, working a little on this project. He has built more than half of it. So also he built this whole studio over the summer, like called SD Studio, that is a graphic interface to work with SurveyDown, surveys. So that is, I think, the thing he should present at some point in the future I think that'd be a really good one to showcase, because it's come a long way and it's very impressive what it can do. And yeah, I'll stop there and go back to eating with my camera off.
Sorry, I'm chewing. Min?
Yeah, me. Okay, hi. Yeah. Hello, everyone. My name is Min Kim. I'm the second year PhD student in here in GSET. And my major in comparative and international education. But without AI, I'm not be here because I'm the vibe coder. Yeah, it means that I'm not a truly coder in that meaning. But yeah, right now I'm very more confident to be here. I used to use the Replit.ai, and right now I use the Bolt.new. To make a application in accessing creativity and small fitness games. So yeah, I'm looking forward to learning from you and cooperate with the student and you're all here. Yeah, thank you. Yeah.
growing
Mhm.
amount of
Mhm.
interest, it seems, in how do you measure the creativity of LLM and AI outputs from many different angles. I keep reading about it, like from different perspectives. Obviously, we have the arts perspective, but then there's a variety of other perspectives on what does creativity mean when it comes from
Yeah.
machines. So it's something we can and should probably explore further.
Yeah, sure.
See what we can do to contribute to that.
Yeah, thank you. Yeah.
So, as we said, this is an informal meetup group. So we don't necessarily have like goals that we're trying to accomplish to promote the university or anything. But we do like to get together and share. So often it is JP and I and others sharing, but the more people we can invite to come and share more, the better it will be, because we have a lot of people doing interesting things out there. And we do have a Slack group that goes along with this. I think probably everyone in the room at least, and we can get you on, Min, onto the Slack group. I just did a rerun of the membership because yesterday's reminder email brought back some errors of dead email addresses. But we have 1,208 people on the Slack group that then comes in and feeds into the email list that serves reminders out of the meetings. So it's a big community, even though it's small here in person. We do record everything so that people can watch later at a time that's useful for them, which I think a lot of people do take a look at because we may overlap with the class. On the website, though, we do have the schedule, and you can subscribe to the website to get the schedule, and we'll keep the upcoming topics in that. If you have any topics that you want to present, be sure to let me know and I'll fit you into the schedule. We're still kind of putting some of it together, though we have, I think, only 2 slots left for the fall right now, and then we'll start filling slots for the spring. Yeah, and I have a couple other people I'm in talks with to hopefully get them to come and present on what they're doing. And as I said, you can get to the YouTube channel and watch the past ones there. So if there's something you're interested in, it could be something like regular expressions. It could be something related to AI. We've covered a lot of those topics before, and we've recorded them, and they're there. We also work closely with the libraries, and they offer a lot of workshops. So just so that everyone knows some of the upcoming workshops. So there is Intro to R coming up on the 29th. So if you're curious about R and you're not already registered for JP's courses, you can get started with R. And that's again on September 9th. And then on the 11th, or the 2nd, they'll have Python. And then on the 11th, they'll have APIs. They just ran a Python bootcamp. So they probably won't have another Python bootcamp till toward the end of the semester.
It's gonna be in November.
It's November?
It's already scheduled, but they haven't created the event yet.
Oh, good.
But
So
I don't know the exact dates, but it's in November.
and they have quite a few things coming up on using AI. So like on September 30th, there'll be a writing code with AI. If you do a different, like, you can select AI related ones like that. And it shows just the AI related topics they're offering this fall. So there's quite a bit going on in the offering programs to help support people's use of AI, whether it's for classes or for their research and so forth. So we'll probably have them talk some about those in the upcoming sessions as well. It's the usual people that we know who are giving the workshop, so hopefully they can come over and talk to us about what they're doing. And as I mentioned, our partner in all of this is OSPO. And I'll turn it over to David, who is the head OSPO officer. Oops.
You want me to- I have like a lot to go through.
Sure.
Okay.
It'll give me a chance to eat so, and get caught up on what you're doing. So
Oh, you know what? I'm not on Zoom. I need to get on Zoom.
yeah, I'm gonna mute them.
Hey, David, can you hear me? Hello?
Yeah, we can hear you. He's logging in.
Oh, cool. I was going to tell you while you're setting up, the OSPO conference back in March, has just continued to bear fruit. Like it was such a good event, and I recently got invited to this social science. It's like open source research for social science thing out, and it's hosted at the Microsoft campus, like way out in California. And I got invited because the guy from Sloan who showed up was there, and I talked with him about Survey Down, and he was like, "Yeah, you should go there and like talk about that." And it's like 100 people. There's no schedule. You just show up, and they want people to get in the room and like figure stuff out. And I was like, such a cool event, and it's only because of the OSPO conference. So that was a really great event. Just wanted to throw that out. I've been meaning to catch you up over the whole summer and tell you, but it's pretty great.
You are mute. Sorry, you are mute.
I don't have any audio anymore. Yeah.
Yeah,
There we go.
Okay.
Okay. Now I probably need to
Yeah, now you can talk.
Can you guys talk? You guys hear me?
Yes.
Okay, I'll turn this up. Okay, sorry about that. Yeah, thanks, JP. I was just saying that I saw a lot of people having conversations in the hallways and, hopeful that that was leading somewhere. That was the whole purpose, especially of having so much of a hallway track with food and the contributors hub where we could have people mingle and talk. Yeah, so thanks. I'm glad that that's happening. That's great. And I want to follow up with you about Posit and see if anything's moving forward with that. I have big ideas to like pick off proprietary academic tools and try to not mandate, but start building ecosystems around the open source tools that maybe could be competitive and giving them more interest and seeing if they could replace some of the bad proprietary tools. So that will be a fun. That's a long-term project, but part of my taking over the world with open source. But the like evil laugh isn't quite appropriate there because it's like I want to have a commons where we're all sharing and working together to make the world a better place.
there is no equivalent opposite of the evil. They're doing good now.
Yeah, it doesn't happen. Yeah. All right. So I just want to just let people know the latest of open source Office. Lorena Barba is our leader. She wrote the grant. It's really her brainchild, and I'm just trying to implement her plan. Geneva Henry is the head, the main PI, and she is like our VIP muscle that it's great to have. Plus, she's both head of IT and the head of a library, so kind of a nice, powerful voice that I think is going to help us become a sustained office, though who knows with the current financial times that we're in. And we just brought on in May Rosemary Pauley, who was a library associate, and now she's not full time. She's like 30 hours a week with the OSPO. She's our program coordinator, and she is phenomenal, helping me so much stay on top of everything. And we're hiring 4 students. We actually just hired 4 students. They're starting tomorrow and Friday. So I'm excited. This is kind of their announcement coming out. We have Noha Al-Yazidi, Sunil Shah, they're both grad students. And we sort of have 2 tracks for them. One is Noha is more of a comms marketing person, helping us grow the open source community and get all of our events and marketing, especially outreach to students, which is one of our challenges. So hopefully one of their missions can be to boost attendance at these lunches, lunch and learns. Sunil Shah is very technical. We're really excited to give him a bunch of tech projects for the OSPO. And then Mia and Jude are undergrads. Also, all of them are called OSPO ambassadors. And we're really excited for them to join us. And we had so many, well over 100, over 150 applicants. And it was, yeah, some really impressive resumes. We had some very difficult choices. But we're really excited about the team that we ended up with.
Where's Mike now?
Mike went on paternity leave. And he, I'm not sure where he, I haven't talked to him since he went on paternity leave.
He's deep in diapers, is where.
Yeah, he's he had a healthy, happy baby over the summer, and yeah, I think he's busy with that, and I think he's still getting his doctorate. And I mean he's been doing so many things. So he had a
Yeah,
Google
that's
internship, and we basically what happened was we were awarded a follow-on grant. So yay, from July 2025 through 2027. And that grant, we decided to make a decision to change and go to more student workers because it aligned better with the Sloan mission and what they asked for. Actually, it was really lovely working with them throughout the process because it's very interactive and they want you to win the grant. Like they help you write it. And then when it goes to their board to approve it, you kind of like, unless something crazy happens, you're gonna get it. Like you're not, it's not like 10% of the people get the grant and 90% you go home, sad. So it's a much better process. I wish other foundations would follow that model. Yeah, so it's fun to work with them and try to create, the project and the grant that they want to see. Yeah, so we're still in the library. And yeah, we have 2 more years, so we're really excited. And Geneva has plans beyond that. Couple highlights, or a few highlights I wanted to mention from last year. Over the summer in June, we went up to the UN, the United Nations building, and they had a OSPO week conference, but the first 2 days were a hackathon and an editathon, and we had 7 GW students come up there, and 2 of them actually won first prize in one of the hackathon challenges. So Anka Patel and Daria Shah are just fantastic developers and had a great solution. So it was really exciting to see them win. But all the students had a really fun time going up to the UN and getting to be in those kind of hallowed halls and meeting a lot of networking, meeting people from all over the world. I think it was a really cool event. I was excited that we could help make that happen. We had the OSCON. There's some photos. We were really happy. It had over 150 people attended over the 2 days, and just thank you so much to everybody who volunteered. We had about 50 volunteers, and I think about 70 presenters. So thank you all for making it possible. It was really fun, and we're gonna do it again. So we're gonna make it an annual event. We already have the dates, March 23rd and 24th. So we're really excited about that. In March last year, we partnered with George Hacks and their hackathon. That student organization ran just the best hackathon. I highly recommend it. They had at least 150 students. It was 2 days on a weekend. Students were there all hours. Like they just went crazy. The prizes were really good. We had a $500 spot prize that we offered, but that was like a small beans. They had $1,500 prizes and a lot of different like first, second, third place kind of things. So yeah, it was really active. I talked to a lot of students that really had a great time. Highly recommend going to that next year. I'm going to go to it next year. And one of my favorite parts was we partnered with Remy DeCosmaker, who is the director of the Center for Medicare and Medicaid Services, OSPO. Yes, there is a federal government OSPO. That's the first one. And surprisingly, throughout this time, he's survived and kept his job. And open seems to not be taboo with this administration, which is interesting. So he's kind of flourishing and been really helpful. And we're going to try to work together to give some capstones and some internship opportunities to GW students. So that was really fun working with him. And then, yeah, shout out again to the student award winners from last year. Ping Fan, congratulations again.
Thanks.
We had 11 winners. We have an annual budget of $4,000 to give out. So we encourage people to come again and participate. And yeah, it was really fun to see. Plus, you guys got to present at the ceremony, and then you also got to present at the lightning talks at the OSCON, and we're planning to make those opportunities available again. I just want to highlight some of our services and initiatives. We have our project registry. We're trying to highlight all of the great work that GW students, researchers, faculty are doing by highlighting their projects. This year, I'm gonna assign the students to interview one project a month and put them in our blog and really highlight the project. So if you're in the registry already, get ready for a phone call and an interview with one of our students. And like I said, we're gonna do once a month, highlight a story about your project. The student award program the deadline is November 1st. There's 2 tracks. One is open source project awards. This is like a collaborative team project. And those are the prizes. There's an undergrad and a graduate student track. And the criteria is kind of evenly distributed over reproducibility, impact, adherence to open source best practices, and then collaboration like inclusivity and community building. And then we also have an individual contributor award, and that's more of a lottery. If you can demonstrate that you have gotten your merge request, your PR merged into an open source project, then you will get in the running to win $150, and we'll have 6 of those prizes. So please enter. We have the money. We love giving it out. It's one of my favorite parts of my job, handing people money. I already mentioned OSCON next March. We're happy to be a partner again with GW Coders. We're also working with Civic Tech DC, which is a local open source project organization. They actually line up perfectly with our Lunch and Learn series. So tonight they have their every other week on Wednesday nights, they have a meetup. And they're really well attended. Every time I've been, there've been at least 40 people. And they have pizza and they have drinks, and it's a fantastic group. I highly recommend them. They have like 5 or 6 really interesting open source projects that they're working on. They're really welcoming. So, and if you get a merge request, pull request merged into one of their open source projects, you could qualify to win $150. But they're a great group. Several of them spoke at our conference last year, and they have some really interesting initiatives around DC, around bigger misinformation projects that I'm pretty excited about working with them. And then we have a bunch of other things we're going to try to do. We love partnering with different groups, student groups, faculty, others. So reach out to us. One example of a collaboration is the laser workshop, the laser team, which they've presented here before. They're having their workshop in the library on September 12th, so we're co-hosting that with them. And we're just happy to do that kind of thing. So reach out to us. Some of our other services are consultations. Just find me on Calendly through the library website. I'm happy to talk to anybody about open source, almost open anything, community building or the tech around open source. And if I can't answer your questions, I'm happy to point you to the people that can. We have the workshops. Let me go into that real quick. This is filtered by open source. So you can see the library does a lot of open source related workshops. The one that I'm doing is on where is it? Yeah, the 18th and the 23rd. Join the Revolution, open source for everyone. That's sort of a 101 on open source. And the trick, again, I know I'm pounding this really hard, but at the end of that workshop, we're going to do a really simple contribution to an open source project, which will qualify you for the lottery. So please attend if you're able. Yeah, and there's one other one I wanted to highlight. It's actually not open source. Let me see if I can get it. Okay, so this October 14th workshop, an overview of Qualtrics and REDCap. JP, I'm trying to get Survey Down included in that workshop. And trying to do that led to a whole can of worms getting opened where we discovered that GWIT sort of discriminates, not intentionally, but just through their process against researchers using open source in the IRB approval process. So we had kind of uncovered that can of worms, and now Geneva, who's the PI on our grant, was livid, and so she is going to work really hard to with us to try to make sure. I don't think anybody was doing it on purpose, but what happens is they go back to the proprietary tools and they say, hey, can you fill out the security risk paperwork? And when they do that to an open source tool, there's nobody to fill out the paperwork. Because it's often just maintainers that have other things to do. It's not their high priority. So we're going to figure out a new process to handle things like OpenRefine and Survey-Down, and make sure that researchers can use these tools because there's no security issues with them. Most of the time, those tools are downloaded onto their laptop and they're not even, the data isn't going to the web or going, to the cloud or anything. So it's very safe. It's, the GWIT needs to make a fair assessment, but we need to help them through that. So I just want to let you know that's a can of worms that we opened up, and the end of it is we're going to try to make sure that researchers can use OpenRefine, Survey-Down, and other open source tools. And then JP and Pinkfan are going to try to get Survey-Down to be part of this survey research tool workshop. Last couple things I'll say, we also help with grant support. So I know we've given Ryan a commitment letter. So anybody that has requirements to make their research outputs publicly available, we are here to work with you to help make that possible. The Nelson memo isn't up anymore on the White House website. However, all of the individual agencies, NIH, NSF, are still going forward with their making the requirements and the policies so that researchers have to make their outputs publicly available. So, the grant landscape right now is not good, but if you happen to win a federal grant, they still have the requirements to make all of the research outputs publicly available at this time. So, we're here to help with that.
I think the administration wasn't the first Trump was the one who put it into place, so I can't imagine.
It started with them, yeah. The writing of the document started with them, with the Nelson memo.
Yeah.
Now,
I don't imagine that.
Alonda Nelson had left and then went to the Library of Congress and I think
Yeah.
was, maybe forced out there or something. So like there's
Yeah.
personality craziness, but yeah, I don't want to tread there. All right, I've been talking a lot. Last few things. We have a bunch of external collaborations that I'm really excited about. And the point of these external collaborations are to bring opportunities to GW faculty and students. So one of them is the Curious Network, which is our network of academic OSPOs. It's really cool how we all work together to amplify each other's work. Like the student award program I got from Stanford, and I just kind of cut and pasted it and changed it and tweaked it. So we were able to do a lot more because we're all sharing our work together. It's a great model. I'm leading a working group, co-leading a working group for the UN. Basically, we believe that open source software is making major impacts at addressing the UN Sustainable Development Goals and their targets for 2030. I asked a question in the UN conference a year and a half ago, how do we measure this? And people said, that's a great question. Why don't you go work on it? And I learned a hard lesson about academia. If you raise your hand, you're all of a sudden leading a working group. But it's a really exciting working group, and there's people from the UN on it, and people from WHO, and people from a whole bunch of other organizations in open source, including Remy from Center for Medicare and Medicaid. So there's a really diverse group of people from all over the world, and we're going to try to build some tools and some processes and some standards to make it really easy for a maintainer to put their hand up and say, my tool is designed to address, the educational targets of the UN SDGs, or to address the water supply targets, or to address the climate action targets. And there's 17 of these categories. They're very broad, but their targets are actually pretty concrete and measurable. So it's a really interesting, fun challenge, and we're going to try to make it. We're going to try to build stuff. And now that I have student workers, we're gonna do even more. So really excited about that. We're also a member of the Open Forum for AI. This is led by Carnegie Mellon, and University of Texas in Austin is a member, as well as Georgia Tech and George Washington. Their goal is to have research be driving policy decisions. So OSI, the Open Source Initiative, and Creative Commons, and some other organizations are also members. And so many documents are going out from Washington, executive orders, and from Europe, and they don't ever define like what open source AI is, or what generative AI really is. Like, so they like make a policy about it, but they haven't defined it. And so we're trying to like help them define these things and understanding these things based on research. Excited to be a part of that. There's another partnership we're just joining into, called Code for Government Tech, and this is run out of, it used to be Samagra, and now it's run out of a university, I can't remember the name, in India. And they do internships with open source, one-on-one matching between a student and project. And I'm really excited to see if we can we're going to be an official academic partner, but I want like our students to have more opportunities, and maybe some of our project maintainers to jump in too, and see if they want to get some students to support some features in their work. And I already mentioned Civic Tech DC. And then lastly, I'll say we had a survey last fall. It was really interesting. This is just one of the things that we learned, which is a little less than 40% of people are actively contributing, of the people that we talk to open source projects. So we have some work to do to get more people contributing. And honestly, we have a lot of work to do in educating. So yeah, and I'll just finish that. Sorry. Woo! I tired myself out. My gosh. Awesome. Do you want to go back or?
Oh, no.
Okay.
Um,
Let's open the floor for anybody else who wants to talk. JP, Pink Fan,
I'll
any
wait.
survey down update?
Yeah, I'll wait for JP if he wants to talk about it.
For the record on the IRB thing, I don't understand that because we've used SurveyDown on 2 different IRB approved studies. No one asked me to fill out my paperwork on is this thing secure, but whatever. Maybe it's so different and new that they just didn't pay attention to that detail. But anyway, it is a weird thing. But it's part of the challenge actually. I mean, there are security risks if it's not done right, and this is one of these things where like to grow this project beyond what it is now, we need some sort of outside support. Like we do need some sort of grant or something to keep focusing on the dev work, because the dev work now is less so the package and the software. It's more like the ecosystem around it. And if we could get like HIPAA certified, for example, stuff like that would make it all of these institutional barriers just like sort of disappear. You're like, oh, go to our security page. There it is. You know, everything's already preset. And there are projects that have done this, like Supabase, which is the database we like recommend people use. Free open source Postgres database. It's amazing. It has all these certifications. It's a much bigger organization though. It's like got lots and lots of contributors, but it's a free open source database that you can go get all the documents you need from their website to show that they have all these certifications. And so that is like something I've never been involved with. I make software. I usually just put it out there and go, okay, go everyone, use it. And now I'm having to think about, well, how do you grow a project? It's a real challenge because these are all institutional barriers. They aren't really software barriers. So we're learning.
I just got invited to hear the Supabase CEO talk to a venture. There's an open source venture capital group that I'm connected with, and they're going to have a something similar to this where they're inviting the CEO of Supabase to talk about his journey, of having an open source project and how he made money from that venture. I mean, I think they got like $2 billion in venture capital funds off of like a $12 billion evaluation, I think they said. So like for an open source project, that's pretty impressive. So
Yeah,
survey down.
I don't know if we're gonna be billionaires from this project, but I think the obvious use case for them is they're providing a fundamental service to millions of people can use. I mean, anybody can use a database, and and many people need one. So that's a huge the market for that is massive. Whereas there is a pretty large market for survey software. But to tap into that, you need no code solutions. You need a thing that like people click on it and it does the thing they want, and they don't have to think too hard about the code. So ours is the complete opposite. It's like a highly specialized tool for people who want to build complicated surveys that you sort of are limited by with the current software out there.
Okay, maybe we'll give you just $100 million valuation.
Yeah, like that's more reasonable. I'll take that.
I'd actually love to see GW Coders like a talk about monetizing open source. Like, I think that's part of the case to be made to, people who don't know yet, like it is possible. There's,
Yeah. I can
Yeah,
put that together.
many business models around it, and like all of Posit is like an exceptional example, a very, very successful company that makes all these packages and software completely free, and yet they have this whole back end business model where they sell enterprise software, so that the world of data scientists who use their free packages can like use them in their companies. And that's a really smart model. It works extremely well, and it's self-sustaining. That's just one. Supabase's model is pretty different, and David and I have talked a lot about this because we were talking about strategies of where to take Survey Down if you want to expand it. But it's there's a lot of stuff there and stuff that I'm still just learning.
So you want me to put you down for November?
I've been voluntold.
Sounds like you're giving a talk. Yeah.
I think that's actually a good idea, and I have an open source presentation that I've already somebody shared with me that that has a list of like 10 different business models for open source. That would be fun to go through.
We're now down. Easy. So just to give everyone, one thing we do want to try to get is more ideas of things that people want to hear about. So what we have currently on the agenda is in 2 weeks, I'm talking about vibe coding using command line interface tools, which are just amazing. It did my whole summer project like in 12 minutes. They're really good. So I'm going to go through an example of that, showing like automated development pipelines using Gemini, Claude Code, and OpenAI's code system. Then we have James talking about visualizing AI workflows coming up on the 24th. Then after that, I have another session on vibe coding, but I want to talk about auditing your code because, again, like in 12 minutes, it wrote hundreds of files for me doing really complex things. And so you have to have a way to audit that to make sure it's really doing what you think it's doing. And there's now a couple other people talking about this in blogs. So I want to talk about that some. So we can go through some examples of like where my code I thought was working correctly, but really was not working correctly. The outputs looked fine, but actually what it was doing was not fine. And so, but figuring that out, you have to know how to audit your vibe coding.
Did it cost you money?
The Claude Code cost me like $3.
No, I mean, is it like giving you the most expensive solution that you could possibly run?
It's had to do with how I was trying to remember things, and it
Yeah,
wasn't
okay.
keeping memory the way it should be. It was getting rid of it too quickly. So yeah, no, it wasn't trying to profit off of me. Then we have an empty week if someone wants to present, or even if you don't want to present, if you want something to be presented, if we can find someone to present on that, any topics. Then in November, I guess I'm down again, because I know JP's out and David's gonna be out for part of the fall. I'm gonna talk about synthetic personas. We're doing a project, and I have a colleague who will come hopefully from social psychology, where we are using personas to take psychology instruments, and then we're gonna do that thing called factor analysis on them. But I want to show the code of how we're using these 800 plus personas to answer surveys for us. And then we have now open source business models in November, and then we'll have a wrap-up session. Again, if someone has something they want to present or wants to have it presented, that's December 3rd, that will be our last meetup for the fall.
I have a thought about, so earlier, like at the beginning, there was sort of like, oh, how do you measure creativity? I would not want to present on that solo, but I think it would be an interesting conversation, like from the art world perspective, visual arts at least. I can talk a little bit, like the first thing that came to mind was Stafford Beer, Cybernetics. He has a definition of creativity. And that's sort of embraced by some artists. I could definitely sort of put together some slides that talk about, what that means from my perspective or from an arts perspective. I would love to co-present with somebody or something with somebody that could talk about it from a code perspective or a,
Yeah,
or
that's
a
not
science
we can
perspective.
find someone. We can mine archive.
Yes, me. Yeah, I'm in. Yeah.
Okay.
Oh, Min.
Yeah,
Min.
yeah. I'm in this. Yeah, I'm very interested. Yeah, it's my research. Yeah, base right now. So yeah,
Maybe the two of you can link up. If you can,
Min,
sure.
Slack.
Yep, sure. Yeah.
You on Slack.
Yeah, sure. Yeah.
We can either plug you into late October or early December, depending on who you find. and what-
Yeah, yeah, sure. Thank you. Yeah.
Yeah, I think that would be a great discussion.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. I'm looking forward to that. Yeah. Hi.
Yeah, the other thing that I think we do have to loop back to at some point, I'm not sure if Coders is the right place for this. But some more 101s around using the GW resources. Because we have a lot of resources, and I don't think students or colleagues know how to use them nearly enough. So they end up paying AWS or something out of their personal accounts when they really shouldn't. They should go through the university. But I'm not sure if we'll fit that in for the fall or if we push that to the spring. We've done it before, but it's been a long time since we did like HPC 101.
Be great if we made it accessible
Yeah, they're on YouTube.
in perpetuity, or at least
They
if
are.
if they're already there, then. You know,
Yeah, but people like fresh.
Yeah, I mean,
Like
things are
3-year-old.
changing and like in RTS, things are unfolding.
Yeah, and
So-
it's mostly small things like setting up two-factor identification.
Super chip. We have super chips.
Yeah, Superchip doesn't have enough modules on each yet though,
No, it doesn't, but
but they're working on it. They told me they'll put a llama on it once they get it working better. So, which would be nice. But someone did ask me, maybe someone, this will help me immediately. Someone asked, they want to run, is it a Grog 2, they open source the X model,
They didn't.
but
They
it's
said
not
they
an
did.
llama, right? So I don't know where.
It's
to
not
run
truly
it.
open source, but yes. Go
It's
ahead.
open
Sorry.
weights, right?
Yeah.
They open weighted it, but that doesn't sound quite right either. But I don't know where to run it. Has anyone run? Like I have only run open source, open weights models on Ollama, but it's not on Ollama, so I don't know actually.
Hmm.
Like, is there another Ollama parallel that I would use to run non-Ollama open source models? I haven't run into this. Ollama had everything I wanted.
this is another topic that I'd really be interested in, is how do you evaluate different models against each other?
Ooh.
Like, and maybe that's as a non-coder, maybe it's like an obvious answer but for me, it's like, I don't know how to compare Claude versus GPT, the
It's a
various
question.
GPTs.
But it's something that a lot of AI developers are struggling with. So
Right.
they create their own evaluative models for their specific use case, but they're not generalizable.
I mean, I think JP showed somebody in one of the coders meetings last year showed like, oh, there's this page that, has comparisons of models and it ranks them and so
Oh
on.
yeah, that would be.
Yeah, and
I
that's,
think it's more general. I think. So my
yeah,
215 meeting is on this issue for
Right.
our personas project. So we're gonna run it with like a Mistral model, a Llama model,
right,
and GPT-4 model and a Claude model. Now the question is, how will I know which model did better when I'm just having it take surveys? It's just giving me 1s, 2s, 3s, 4s, and 5s for surveys. And they're not real people, so I don't have a comparison to say like, it mimics the real person. They're all synthetic.
right.
I don't really care that they're synthetic, but how am I going to measure to see? What I did discover, like when I was just looking at our initial pilot data, like I had an error in one of my survey items, and it said like, other fill in your response here. And Llama models kept answering it like with a 4 or 5, like they strongly agree or with it. But Mistral models always gave me a null value for it. So I have a feeling Mistral is doing something better for me when I'm just having to fill out Likert scale surveys. But I have to be more systematic than hunting and pecking because it's going to take like thousands of items over many models and many iterations. I can't spot check for null values to figure that out.
Right.
But I think it's that type of, how do you set up a pipeline kind of within your context to see if they're doing what you think they're doing well or not.
Have you tried an MOE approach where you have multiple models that go against each other, that check each other's answers?
I haven't, but that, yeah, again, I have the problem if I don't know what the right answer is, and either with they, that might work.
We're trying an MOE approach, mixture of experts approach on subject tagging. I figured I should just.
I thought you said MOU. I was very, very confused.
Where basically you do the same thing, 2 or 3 different models, compare the results and have them compare to each other and explain why the other model is wrong.
Mhm.
Oftentimes they'll go, well, this is also a good approach. And then you've got to agree with them. So you can essentially force them to agree or disagree with them. You have votes for 2 models that are consistent, then you can eliminate the 3rd model. And you can essentially iterate through this pretty quickly. But the laser issue we have is that when we tag knowledge, skills, and task abilities in documents, that tagging is amorphous. So it's not a 1 to 5 answer. It's somewhere in the realm of 1 of 25,000 different responses. So how do you verify that even with a big data set? You don't do it manually. So we have Gemini, Llama, and one of the Hugging Face open source models all running in parallel. Then we're comparing the answers. So when we get 2 votes for 1 answer, we consider it correct. And that's worked pretty well, but it's expensive as hell to run. So you use it as, instead of synthetic data, you're essentially generating localized synthetic data and then using it to retrain as you go. So it works on a smaller corpus, a smaller run to get your training done.
Mhm.
But it still has all the hallucination problems. It still has all the, when there's no agreement, you do,
Mhm.
like who's correct. So it only gives you the high probability values back. And we found it to be not strictly superior to something like a confidence interval return. So give us the weight back, how confident you are of this tag. Not always improving, but it does, bring us from that 85 to 89%, which is something.
Yeah, you tapped into something we should have more conversations about, because it's gonna become more and more critical.
Right.
As we use more models and use more resources.
Other models benchmarking a lot of the AI models, they are continuously changing, even when they're said to be static.
Mhm.
They all have RAG set up. There's all kinds of, anything that has a Gen AI bet to it will change your answer. Yeah, same question a week later, it's a different answer. So the question is that benchmarking accurate, or is it a point in time value? And if we're making decisions for the next 6 months based upon a benchmark and that changes, is that superior or not? And then of course the models seem to go obsolete quicker and quicker. So you can't build anything that's stable long term. You have to assume that things are going to change. There's no standard that I know of that fixes that.
I'd be interested in hearing the ethics debate too. I know you had mentioned that you're doing some work in that. I always get kind of, I don't know, I trip over like we just assume this is the thing to do, and I still wonder, like, do we want to do this? Like, is it, especially with the people that are leading it, with all their closed systems, or maybe for me it's more of an open versus closed, but having implemented some AI ML systems, via microservices before LLM times, I know we were so fast to put things into production that were clearly biased and clearly wrong and clearly caused damage. And I feel like that's happening again. And we just like, well, we're gonna we just focus so much on the cool, stuff it can do, and we don't seem to worry about the risk.
That's actually part of the reason we've seen a lot of pullback from investment in AI in the last few weeks, is that you move fast and broke things, but it's not clear that you're actually making additional progress right now. You're just making bigger models. And at what point does the hallucination and ethical bias come into play and create a doubt what's going on? In your standard technology development curve, we're probably sitting at peak and moving towards the decline already in AI, and we're only a couple of years into production level AI. So what's the long-term proposition of this? It sounds like the agentic models are starting to become the go-to. Those are almost always built off of custom design, very limited non-Gen AI
Mhm.
designs. So the investment's going that way. Hell, we're investing in building our own as well, because I'm just absolutely sick and tired of the literal lying that we're getting out of the biggest Gen AI models. Like, okay, cite your source. Well, that's not a source I gave you. Where'd it come from?
Well,
And
yeah,
it lies.
yeah.
And then it lies, and then it lies.
Mhm.
You finally track it down and admit it's wrong, but it's not going to change anything.
I think there was some research recently about the smaller models are tailored or showing more effect. And then there's the sycophantic craziness that's been highlighted over the last months. Where did you see the story about there was a 47-year-old man in Toronto who like thought he had figured out some new math formula. And it was like it was kind of reasonable. Like his kid asked about pi, so he asked ChatGPT about pi, and then he went down this rabbit hole, and ChatGPT was giving him this. He gave the whole thread to the New York Times, and it was it was kind of insane. It was like ChatGPT was just so sycophantic, saying, "Oh, you may have stumbled on a new number theory. Like this could make you $1 billion." And you know, I'll help you build a business plan. And he was just going, he was asking friends, and he kept doubting himself and asking, and it kept saying, no, 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 this is real. Like, you know, he's like, but I don't have a degree. Like, I don't have experience. He's like, no, 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 this sometimes, you know, and
That explains the thing I read about, like, a physicist saying, like, you can't buy physics. Like, you really have to know physics. Don't think that you're finding new materials.
Yeah.
And new, proving that gravity doesn't really exist.
yeah,
By using ChatGPT.
yeah,
But that explains, I wasn't sure where that came from, but then that-
it's a fascinating article. I
Yeah.
recommend it.
From my perspective, I've seen like Gen AI to me just seems like it's a really awesome collage machine. Like you've got all the stuff that went into a blender and it spits out this sludge from the blender. And it's really interesting, plausible sludge. So backing up one thought, I think most people are looking to AI to give them accurate answers. As an artist, I could care less about accurate answers. I'm interested in the novel things emerging. Like as a student, one of the things that we were taught was like, you know, as an artist, you can get into your ruts and habits. And so you do these idea generation exercises to sort of break yourself out of that and kind of refresh your perspective and open up new ideas. And I think Gen AI is great for that. And it's, you know, but like for anything that requires accuracy or truthfulness, you know, anything that's mission critical, it's too dangerous.
So you're saying that Gen AI is a better artist than it is scientist?
I am saying Gen AI is a better tool for artists than it is for scientists.
I like that conceptualization for steal it. But the reality is too, you think of it the other way. If you think of AI as an artist instead of a scientist, when it gets into ruts and it keeps telling you things that don't seem right, you can have it reset and reconceptualize what's going on. Often that'll help solve the problem. So I mean, perhaps one of the interesting applications of a different field might be techniques that artists use can be applied to the scientists who are using AI and see if that actually improves the process. So if you think of Gen AI as art, not science, and apply the techniques that work for artists, do those work?
I suspect the techniques are probably the same ones that a scientist would use to like, you know, it's like.
But scientists are generally not trained to do that. I had a physics background, I have a policy background, I have an economics background. We're not taught to go back and conceptualize, look at this a different way, do idea generation.
Usually,
We're taught to go back to literature and see if someone else has had an opinion and agree or disagree with them.
right. You know, the kinds of things that I think about for like rethinking, you know, what you're doing as an artist. You know, I'll have students that get, you know, they take photographs and they get, you know, taking the same pictures, the same things over and over again. And they'll get frustrated. They're like, how do I break out of this? And it's like, okay, next time you go to take a picture, in fact, the next 10, go like you're going to take the picture you planned on taking, before you snap the shutter, turn around and take a picture of what's behind you and look at those 10 new pictures. Or, you know, a group so it's really, it's fairly simple stuff, and it's like almost like symmetries, like if this, does it apply if I flop it over, you know, like,
The counterfactual kind of.
so.
Yeah, I remember when I was in grad school, another colleague who had a desk in the same office space I did, he was doing his research on creativity in the instructional design process. And things that you could do like at your desk that would make your designs of education more creative. And so he did all the research into like different tools that people use, and he came up with like an inventory and then tested them all out, had designers using them. But it was really fascinating. It doesn't have to be huge changes. It's little things that they could do. Like little exercises before they start designing the next module, they go through an exercise and the next module will turn out to be more interesting because they applied these little tools, like divergent thinking type tools to help reframe your brain.
In the mid-70s, Brian Eno and Peter Schmidt came up with a deck of cards called the Oblique Strategy. So Eno is like, he was in Roxy Music and he's a music producer.
Huge thing.
Yeah. So Eno, and then Peter Schmidt was a contemporary of his who was a painter. And they talk about their studio practices a lot, they're buddies. And it turned out they both had these running lists of things to do when you got stuck, if you got creative block or something wasn't happening in the studio. So they wrote up, you know, they made a deck of cards. And anytime you were in the studio and you got stuck, you would pick a card at random and it would give you an instruction. And there were generally instructions like, you know, find your favorite part of the piece and take it out, or, you know, like various kinds of things that would like get you to kind of force you to rethink what you were doing. And they weren't necessarily like really specific things. It was like you could interpret these cards to the situation. So
Yeah, there's something called the creative black pattern or something like that. It sits on my desk.
right.
I don't use it that often, but I have it there. for
Right.
When you run into those blocks. That's cards again, just you choose randomly.
I think, you know, maybe where artists are different from scientists is they can smell when something isn't working, and they know they have to switch it up. So, and then how they switch it up is, it can be all manner of things, but it's sort of like having that intuition, like, this isn't quite.
Oh,
So-
that's scientists to a T.
Yeah, yeah,
You'll run 50 different concepts through and pull out the ones you don't think work, and you know, kind of winnow it down, and then run a few at once with the expectation that one of them is going to work because you're confident. It's not that different from art, except when you start painting on a canvas, you can paint over little bits a lot easier than scientists can restart the experiments.
right,
You know, even in economics, a lot of math will take days to get done.
right,
And by the time you've done it, it doesn't work, you go, well, shoot, I don't know where I did the problem. Go back and back and back. AI does help with that. Like the MATLAB AI has really been helpful on some of those scientific calculations I have to do for papers, but it also elucidates. Like,
I bet
not good ways.
I bet one thing that's common with artists and sci, like, I was thinking about, like, is it really easier for painters on a canvas? My first thought was, well, one thing that's really hard for painters is their ego is so caught up in it. There's a passage that they love so much that even if it's not working, it's really hard to scrape that off or paint over it. But I imagine scientists are the same way. If they're in love with their algorithm,
Gotta go back.
And they'll find a way to make the experiment fit what they want.
Yeah.
Not even consciously all the time, like.
Right.
They will make decisions. So there's a whole area, and Lorraine actually turned me onto this. It's out of the open science area. It's the Garden of Forking Paths, where you have so many paths you could take, and it's all those little decisions like, I'm gonna choose to use this instrument rather than this instrument. And you think you're making it objectively, but if you already know kind of what you want to see at the end, then you're picking in a way, even subconsciously, that's gonna get you more likely to. But then they've also invented like some cool statistical techniques where you can try all the different forking paths to see like, did you put yourself into that? but it's computationally a mess. Like run the HPCs for days to figure it out type stuff.
Right.
But there's someone at Oxford that does that work, and it's just really interesting.
Public policy, there's an exercise that you do, which is top down and bottom up. So you build bottom up normally. But if you have an answer you think is gonna happen, you try and build backwards to that same starting point. And if the two paths overlap, you've probably got a decent model, but if you can't get it to overlap, then you probably don't have something's wrong somewhere.
Right.
And that exercise, might take an hour, but it'll save you days of work. I'm not sure how much that happens in science because you usually don't predetermine the outcome. Whereas in policy work, you're often looking for a specific outcome
Mhm.
and you have a specific starting point. So figuring out how to get from A to B is the most important part.
In terms of quantification or
Yes, I
like,
said.
I mean, policy alternatives, like what do you mean?
So bottom up might be, an example might be you want to increase graduation rates at school. So you know what the outcome needs to be, and you see where graduation rates are behind and that kind of stuff. So you have an idea of what the outcome can be, what the different aspects of the quantitative data look like in a good outcome. Then you have a current situation, which is your enrollment information, the quality of students, that kind of stuff. But the policy levers to pull are legion. Like there's so many different things you could do. Something as simple as one professor meets with a student once a week for their entire college career. That's really expensive, but it's also really effective. So you got a budget constraint.
Just looking at this thing now.
But you're always looking for that same outcome. So you know, start and finish, and then trying to make the decision path of where I can invest, what I can do, or when to get to that outcome. That's what the policymaker is trying to do. Whereas in science, you're not saying, okay, I want the outcome to be, this rocket goes 10 times faster. I want to increase the speed of this rocket as efficiently as possible. So it's a little bit of a different conceptualization. Sometimes, yes, you do have that
Yeah,
outcome
that's
based,
sometimes.
but like
yeah.
the process in public policy is always some extent of going bottom up or top down. And when you do both at the same time, you often find that path that works both directions. That's your best path. As to relate to AI, I don't know. We actually
Right.
increased our R&D time budget to try and figure out if we can improve the quality of the process more so than the quality of the product, because the original design had taken us so far off course that it became really expensive to run the AI. So we did a lot of refactoring, we did a lot of rethinking of what we did from bottom up, but then looked at our outcomes as a goal and then worked our way back from that goal. How do we decrease the cost while still having this quality level? Somewhat effective, at least.
Well, we won't solve all the world's problems today, but in 2 weeks, we'll get back together again, talk about vibe coding and other fun things. Thanks, everyone.
Thank you. Bye bye.
Bye.
See you.